Welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is Roger Knecht, President of Universal Accounting Center, and this podcast is dedicated to helping individuals both have and build the successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business that you've always wanted. In this show, we actually dedicate time to discuss tips and tricks as to help you market and sell your services with more confidence, to more competently offer quality accounting services to get paid what you're worth, and lastly, do those things that you can actually do to become the premier accounting firm in your area. In today's episode, we actually have an excellent guest, someone that I've met a number of times and had various conversations with, and I'm sure and certain, in fact, that you're going to enjoy this. It's Michelle Weinstein. Michelle happens to actually work with and train accountants on how to use her techniques, a proven system to sell more services, overcome objections, and have a more abundant life. Living life with abundance is how she refers to it. In fact, she has successfully trained CPAs how to actually and efficiently implement powerful techniques to add $10,000 to $50,000 in revenue each and every month. Michelle is she is the host of the Abundant Accountant podcast. So like this, if you're a podcast listener, I invite you to also subscribe to and listen to her podcast. It's where she's discussing with accounting professionals how they can learn the most efficient and powerful ways to grow their firm, sharpen their skills, and have consistent increases in revenue. She covers topics from networking, pricing, finding your ideal clients, increasing cash flow, setting boundaries with your clients, and much, much more so accounting professionals can stop giving away their time and expertise for free and start getting paid their value and worth. So, Michelle, thank you and welcome to the show. It's exciting to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, it's funny. We had a conversation early on when I first met you about the challenges that accounting professionals have selling accounting services. So I want to go all the way back to then and ask, what even drew you to being the sales pitch queen for accounting professionals? Because I know before it was a little bit more broad, but you've really honed in on the accounting profession.
Yeah, it's a funny question. I feel like I'm going back to where I was at a college, and I worked at an accounting firm and just had so many, I loved all of it. I love working with really smart, intelligent human beings. I love more, type A, left brain. And I just came full circle about 20 years later. So here I am working with accountants. Again, it's really what I've found in working with so many of you is that, this piece about sales and like having to talk to clients and having to have a process just really never is taught. It's not taught when you're getting your MBA. It's not taught in, CPA classes, EA. It's not even taught in most like master's programs. And most of the accountants I work with tell me that they hate talking to the clients, or they do, but they, always just want to make it a really good deal for them. And then they get really annoyed when they're doing the work and they're not feeling like they're actually getting paid for all their knowledge. Most recently, Kathy, she's like, Michelle, working with you got the jitters out. Like I can actually be calm when getting a lead, talking to a client, or whatever is going on in her business. And I was like, perfect. So, most accountants want to do the technical work. They want to do the higher value, high level, really fun stuff. And in order to do that, we have to have the confidence and the competence in order to enroll clients. So that's how I got into this.
Well, you hit two key phrases that I think are essential for every accountant to kind of have ingrained into their business mantra. And it's the confidence and the competence that's the secret to success. So I love how you just said that. Now, here's something that I think is interesting is you mentioned it where you talked about pricing, and it's really getting paid what they're worth. A lot of accounting professionals do struggle with pricing their services to have the confidence to ask for what they perhaps deserve to get paid. But I want to go back before that, though, not just the pricing. I want to go back prior to that and address marketing and sales. When you're talking to accounting professionals, how do you describe the distinction between what marketing is and what selling is?
That's a great question because, I would say a lot of you listening might say, oh, I need more sales. Like that's the leads. That's the leads part, And I'm like, well, I have a question. If you talk, and you can do an inventory of this right now. Make a list of how many people you talked to in the last 30 days, in the last month. And then how many of those actually enrolled in your services and paid you? Now, the paid part is the sale. That's sales. When you get paid, that's a sale. Now, on the marketing side, all those people that contacted you in the last 30 days, those are leads. And lead generation is a marketing tool. That is not sales. And it's so funny that you're asking me this because someone was on the webinar this morning and she actually, let me just pull up the question because I need to respond to her. Does your training teach you how to actually find new clients? Well, my training teaches you sales, and sales is about your experience, your process. How do you convert the people that are coming to your inbox who might have found you on Yelp, who might have just found your website? Maybe you got a referral from a current client. The sale part is the conversion. The marketing piece is finding new clients. Now, I do help you and other accountants learn how to find new clients without ever spending a dime, because there are ways to do it just from your current existing clients and other tools that most accountants are missing, which are proper follow-up processes and procedures. So that would be the difference between sales and marketing. Now, do they go hand in hand? 100%. But I do not focus on lead generation. And here's the thing for all of you listening. When you think your problem is that you need to find new clients, what I've found in working with so many accounting professionals is that that's not the problem. The problem is that our conversions are so low and that you're not charging really what you want. It's not that you need more people. You need a higher quality client who's paying you a little bit more so your lifetime value of your client increases. And until you have a process for your conversions, when you get the new client, when you get the inquiry, when you get the email, when you get the phone call, whatever the process is on how they found you, until you have a full-on great process, it's Roger, it's like you're going to Vegas and hitting the slot machine little thing and going, God, I hope I get a new client. So unless you have a process and a plan and you know how to do everything from handle a client question when they go, how much do you charge? How do you stop quoting prices? How do you stop fixing people's problems without getting paid first? And until all of that's really figured out, you're basically going to Vegas and throwing money away in a slot machine, hoping that you're going to find new clients. When really the ultimate, if we get underneath the skin, the challenge is conversions, and that's sales.
So I like how you've broken this out, because when I've worked with many, many accountants like you have, what the first thing I try to determine is, okay, I'm listening. You want more clients. That much we can agree upon. You're trying to grow your revenue. You would like more clients. Let's first now ask, of the efforts that you have to grow your business and find more clients, which are you struggling with most? Is it marketing, getting the leads as you just described it? Or once you have that initial contact and you have a potential customer, do you have a sales process, a nurturing system, something to identify you as the expert, someone that can be that service for them, to the closing and the conversion to get the engagement that you described as the sale? And usually the distinction there, just that clarification, is eye-opening to the business owner, because the accounting person, the CPA, they're in a situation of saying, I just need more clients. I've not thought it through enough to realize that there's two elements here going on, two moving pieces. So now here's the question. You've got marketing, you've got sales. Do you have a sales process, something like a system that you put that you suggest to the accounting professional to help them nurture the leads that they've received?
Oh, 1,000%. And that's what I focus on, with my business called The Abundant Accountant. So the business is also podcast, but I have an 8-week sales mastery training. So if you go to, I think the URL is 8weeksalesmasterytraining.com. I'll check real quick, but I think that's it. And you can spell 8 any different way. You can do the number. Yeah, it's 8weeksalesmasterytraining.com. And I give an overview of pretty much the sales process that any accountant should really have before you focus or invest any money in marketing. So marketing could be 2 things, Roger. So marketing, I've seen a lot of accountants have it as an expense where it's like the Vegas slot machine style. They've spent $500,000 to $5,000 a month trying to get leads, and then they're not getting any sales. Well, that means that your customer acquisition cost is really high. In order to reduce that and get it lower, we need to customer acquisition. We need to acquire the people better, which is this sales process. So if you go there, you'll see more about it. Again, it's 8weeksalesmasterytraining.com. And most of the people that I've worked with typically increase revenue by about $10,000 to $50,000 in an 8-week period. And that is without getting any new leads or spending money on marketing. It's simply nurturing your current clients. What about all the people that you've never followed up with? Or what about all the proposals that you sent out and you never heard back from some and you've never followed up with them either? So we go through a lot of different elements, but we cover everything from the enrollment process, the mindset, handling client questions and objections. There's so much to a sales process that it would probably be too much to talk about it in a 30-minute conversation. But if you've been in business at least 2 years and you've had a lot of sales conversations and you feel like you're banging your head against a wall, or like Kathy, you have the jitters, we can book a call and see if, we'd be a good fit. But you can learn a lot more if you go to 8weeksalesmasterytraining.com. I also have a private Facebook group that all of the graduates go into. So that's how I also, help in the future, because it's almost like boot camp for sales, right? It's like when you go to the military. I've never been to the military, Roger, but
okay,
from what I hear, you go for a few weeks and it's kind of exhausting. And then you go and, boots on the ground and live your life. That's kind of what this is. So you're going to learn a process, but then you actually have to go experience it. So that's pretty much a good overview of what is created. But at the end, you have a full-on binder printed out of your full sales process that you can follow. So if you get the phone call, how much do you charge? Or you get, an inquiry about, well, the other CPA down the street's only charging me $495. Why are you so expensive? You have tools that you've done throughout your class that you've created. So I focus a lot too, Roger, on structure. I don't give people scripts because you don't want to sound like a robot.
Yeah.
You get to create it yourself. So you will, really get this in your bones and learn it and have the process of talking to the clients actually be fun and not stressful.
Well, one of the things that I think you're identifying here is that there is a process, that there is a system that can be followed. Here at Universal Accounting, when we're teaching sales, we follow a program called Cut to the Chase, and it's based upon the principles of what's called APE. And with that, we focus on achievable, profitable, and easy, helping the client obviously understand that the services that we're wanting to offer are easily delivered, and it's meant to help them become more profitable. And in that light, the conversation for the accountant becomes a lot easier because they're able to focus on the deliverables, the benefits of what the services are. I like what you're describing. Here's something that is interesting. I'm kind of interested in your experience with this. When I'm speaking with accounting professionals and I'm distinguishing between, are they struggling with marketing, finding potential customers, getting leads, or are they struggling with selling them, converting them, and getting them as an engagement? I
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes find that they are more often than not struggling in one area and not in another. And in that instance, it's quite easy to say, okay, well, let's focus on getting you leads because you can obviously sell them, or more importantly, you don't know how to sell them, but we can you get leads, but you just don't convert them. My question is as you've talked to people, what do you find is their biggest hang up to pivot and change to now be effective? What's that aha moment that they experience with you
Mm.
and they all of a sudden go, okay, now it makes sense. I just had that epiphany. What is that?
Yeah. Gosh, that's such a great question. I feel like all of the accountants I've worked with have the epiphany in different uh at different times, but one comes to mind. Lisa last week had an epiphany in class, and I can't even remember right now what she told me. But I've heard everything from like Michelle, Mary told me this. You turned a switch on in my head. Mary had had her CPA firm for, God, I don't even know how many years. And when we spoke, she was so stressed out. She was like on the verge of, I might as well go get a job. Right. And I said, you know
Hmm.
what? Let's explore and like discover what's possible and really, maybe working together. And we got really deep. And what I learned from a lot of accountants is that, when you take on a lot of clients and you let them walk all over you because you didn't charge them enough or scope creep happened and the engagement you set forth was for X and then they started asking for A, B, C, D, Y, Z, double D, double C's, double Z's, and now you're allowing this behavior. That's the problem. And I think the switch in Mary's head and a lot of other accountants, because this is what I typically see consistently. They want, we're overworked and underpaid. Then we get to the burnout period. And then it's like, well, I might as well get a job because I'll get paid more instead of dealing with this. And you get this confidence, right? Like Mary, she sent this client of hers for a very long time a termination letter. This was like 2 days ago. She had me review it before she sent it. And she did it without any, like, that's it. I will no longer be treated this way because she's seen the results of when we have more control over our process and we follow a process and we honor our own agreements with ourselves. So you create a lot of agreements with yourself in my class. That's really what shifts. So she actually, I don't know, I say about 8 accountants that I work with really closely on a bi-monthly basis. In 2020, between January and June of 2020,
Uh-huh.
did the same amount of revenue as they did in all of 2019 without adding a ton of clients, maybe a couple here and there, and most of them decrease their client list. So when I hear that you need new leads, I automatically already know that that's not the challenge. We think that's the challenge because as an accountant, you don't really understand the difference between sales and marketing. Maybe after this conversation you do. But one of the first exercises that I invite you each to kind of explore on your own, and then feel free to share it with me and send me an email through the website, is literally do an inventory of all of the people you've met with and you've never followed up with. All of the proposals that you just sent out, because a lot of accountants I talk to just send proposals thinking that people will buy based on a proposal and they're price comparing you. And most accountants that I've worked with are not a commodity. So we cover that in my class, by the way, too. This is a service-based business, and I know a lot of you want to be paid like consulting type fees and high value services. Well, If you think you can just send out a proposal and get someone to respond, unfortunately, it doesn't work, but I want you to see it for yourself. So if you look at, hey, I sent out 100 proposals and I only got 5 responses, that conversion rate is horrific. So, but you can literally get a pulse. And in order for you to change, you have to get a pulse on where you're at right now and sit down with yourself and go, oh my gosh, what about all the emails, the people inquiring about your services and that you sent them an email back and you never heard back from them? How many times did you follow up? To me, Roger, all of that are internal leads. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much you can do right inside your current situation where you don't need to spend extra money, which would be on the marketing side, for getting new leads. There's so much you can do without that. The list is so long, and I provide ideas, but I don't focus on any of that, because the sales is where until your conversions are higher and you have a process that you're following where no one can slip through the cracks. And like I shared earlier, you have that competence, which actually provides you confidence. And then a light bulb goes on in your head, or like Mary, a switch went off. Or, Lisa told me it was like a brick hit her on the side of the head and she had a wake-up call the other day. I just can't remember exactly what she said, but she did say that. It was like a brick hit her and she had a wake-up call. And I was like, wow, okay. And she was the first one in this class to have the wake-up call. It usually happens at the 50% mark. This is like the 25% mark. So she's doing really good.
Very good.
But until you have all that, then you have control over who you work with. Then you can get the right quality clients when you, in the future, make an investment in marketing. And then you can charge higher monthly fees for bookkeeping, or high value fees for like consulting type engagements, tax resolution, tax planning, and other engagements. And it opens up the realm of possibilities. So, and again, none of this, it's not your fault. Nobody is really training on really how to fix these problems and connect the dots. So I really like this conversation about what is the difference between sales and marketing, and what are some of the aha moments. So that was really great, Roger.
Good. Thank you. Well, time and time again, that is the conversation that I have with the accounting professionals. It's you want more clients, you're expecting to grow your business. So which is it that you're struggling the most with, marketing or sales? Is it lead generation, finding potential clients, going where they are? Or is it you've got the leads, you just can't convert them, you're not nurturing them well enough for them to see you as the expert? And then you've brought into the discussion, I think, a very important part, which is you definitely do need to know what your services are. What are the benefits your clients are going to receive from the services, whether it be the high value consulting and advisory work or the more traditional services. And then you have to answer the question of, well, then what's my pricing scale? How do I determine my fees? How do I actually quote what my services are going to cost to a client? And if you have confidence in how you come to those numbers, when you meet with a potential client, you can easily quote a number that you feel is appropriate. So you've got your services component, you've got to know what you're offering and how they benefit. You've got your pricing element, you've got your sales or nurturing process, and then you've got your marketing strategies. Those 4 things make up the success that you're looking for in growing your business. The key part of all this, though, I think, is you're emphasizing you've got these contacts. How are you nurturing and developing them and leading them to a point of a sale? And most accountants, they don't have a CRM, they don't have a nurture system. They're not looking at how to develop that relationship to the point that that person sees them as the solution for their accounting needs. So I like how you've described this. Let me do a quick branch off here to our sponsors, and then I'm going to come back to you here, Michelle, to wrap things up and get your final thoughts. But Michelle has a wonderful offer that I'd like to make mention of. It's where she not only has mentioned her 8-week salesmastery.com site, but she also has another that you want to take note of. It's 5stepstoabundance.com. It's where you can actually go and see what she has created. It's a simple 5-step process for accountants so that they can feel confident positioning themselves as experts, getting consistent, high-quality referrals, and easily get people to say yes to paying them what they're worth, no matter how much they're charging, while working less around the year. So you want to go to 5stepstoabundance.com. Now, this information, just so that you know, is available in the program description of this podcast. So if you go there, you can get the hyperlinks and get the information you're needing. Because we're talking about marketing and sales, I brought up Cut to the Chase. It's the sales process that we teach here at Universal that I'm going to make available there. It'll be a PDF that you can see exactly what the steps are to cutting to the chase and getting that engagement that you deserve, as well as some other sales information that will be helpful for you as you're looking to sell your services more confidently. Now, with all that in mind, one of the things that, Michelle, I'd like to ask you is you've used the word abundance a number of times. Tell me what abundance means to you.
That's a great question. Abundance to me means that you have the freedom, you have the flexibility, and you have the finances to do what you want and whenever you want. And I know that a lot of accountants are very similar to me in that you don't really want to go work for a big four firm. You don't want to work at a firm and help someone else grow their business. And I'm the same way. I mean, I love helping all of you grow your business, but you're not an employee. And I don't think anyone here probably wants to be an employee to their own business. So abundance is about that time freedom. And really, for a lot of the accountants I work with, how do you actually go on that overdue vacation, that you haven't been on, and maybe work a little bit less? For me, I work when I want to, and I love when I'm working because it doesn't even feel like work. I don't work more than probably 5 to 6 hours a day, and a lot of the accountants that I work with aspire to do the same. And when we have the right clients, the ideal clients who value you and appreciate you for the work that you do, then you can charge premium fees for it and not have to deal with all of the lower end clients. So if you think of the 80-20 principle, if 80% of your revenue is coming from your top 20%, how do you weed out all the other stuff so you can focus on your high end clients and you can really build your dream practice and go enjoy more time with your family? Or, for me, I travel twice internationally every single year. And that for me is abundance.
You know what? I love the fact that you travel. I wish we had some time to discuss that, because that's one of the things I do monthly is I go on a big trip. COVID has impacted my travel and it's been frustrating, but I've been fortunate enough that we've been creative and done a number of things here locally. I still, even during this whole issue of being quarantined and so forth, I've been able to travel still and make the most of it. And it's been an amazing experience. So maybe perhaps we could have you back and talk about a little bit of your travel advice. But just to kind of tie things up here, I'm going to come back to you for a final thought. But on the point of abundance, one of the things that I truly emphasize with those people that I work with is you've got to get out of a scarcity mindset that puts you in a position of fear. And what you do is, as you switch over to abundance, is you start to see opportunities, and those things that you couldn't see before start to reveal themselves. And all of a sudden, opportunities become more and more prevalent, and you start to realize that there is, in fact, abundance out there. There's plenty to go around. And in doing so, you start to experience life in a much fuller way, and you're a lot more happy for doing so. So thank you for that advice. I'm going to come back to you for a word of closing thoughts here. But let me summarize our sponsor offer. You want to go to the program description for this podcast, and in that episode description, see the links that we're offering for you to get some additional information on how you can more efficiently and confidently sell your services and, in fact, get the clients you deserve. And so I implore you, go there now and get that resource, those different things for you to actually be able to work on your business and grow it as you intend to. As a summary of our conversation, I love having Michelle on. The conversations I've had with her before have proven out to be true here in this phone call or in this podcast, because she has a passion for selling. And as she works with accounting professionals like we here, we actually both have this experience of seeing the accountant have an epiphany, a change when they all of a sudden realize that there is a process, a system to selling accounting services. It can be fun and exciting. It can be very rewarding. And as you have that shift, you're actually now able to experience selling accounting services in a totally different light, and it moves you towards getting paid what you're worth. And Michelle did a great job of just kind of helping clarify the idea of what's the difference between marketing and sales and where are the biggest opportunities. Obviously, the sales, as she said, getting more efficient and effective at communicating your value and worth to your clients to where they want your services and are willing to pay for them. And the other thing I'd point out in this quick recap or summary is I believe it's important to realize that with Michelle, she was able to show that this is something that's very natural. I think it's comfortable to hear her speak. She makes it sound very easy. So I appreciate you being on the show, Michelle. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share as we wrap things up?
Well, I mean, I think for what you just said, it can become easy. And for everyone that I've worked with, and there are so many testimonials that I've done, pretty much everyone who completes class, I get a written review and a video review, and they're up on the website. They're up at 8weeksalesmasterytraining.com. It's a skill that can be learned. And so many accountants, CPAs, EAs, high-level bookkeepers, they've all showed me and proven to me that it can be learned, and it doesn't have to be scary. You don't need any more jitters, and it can actually, some of them have said this, Roger, it's actually fun now to pick up the phone and answer these questions that used to just freak me out. And why do people just ask me what they're going to charge when really there's so much more to it? So
I agree.
Fun, and you don't have to. A lot of accountants don't like the word sales, and when part of the mindset, and when we talk about scarcity versus abundance, we talk about, well, it's really not about sales. It's about really helping your clients. And a lot of them have pretty massive problems. And a lot of people are overpaying to the government. They have penalties on the international tax side, in that you're like a doctor. You're like the brain surgeon, and you're removing tumors, and you should get paid like them too. It's not a sales process. It is a sales process, but I think we've had the experience at the car dealership or at the mall where you think they're pushy, sleazy, and annoying. And this is a 180 opposite. So no, we don't do any of that. This is just something really simple, and over time with practice becomes stress-free.
Yeah. Well, I liked your word fun. I've had that said numerous times to me. When we can make it fun for the accountant, it does make a difference. So that's well said. So Michelle, thank you for being on the show. As I wrap this up, I just want to point out that we have other episodes that you can go and listen to, as well as subscribe to this podcast, so that you can get the most that you can use to improve and actually have the premier accounting firm in your area. So I encourage you to watch or listen to other episodes, as well as subscribe to this podcast. In closing, let me just also point out that if you need more information about universal accounting and what we can do to help you actually implement these processes and systems in your business, contact us at universalaccountingschool.com, as well as call us at 801-265-3777. And always remember this: accounting success is universal. Do take care. Have a great day, and everyone be safe out there.